Welcome back for Week 10 College Football Part 2. This is going to wrap up for these games that I need to talk about. Like I said, this is Part 2. Welcome back. Welcome back. South Carolina played Vanderbilt, and we obviously expect Vanderbilt to play a really good game. However, they didn't. Carolina beat them 28-7. Currently, South Carolina is ranked, which is scary because they look like a scary team offensively and defensively. And Shane Beamer, what he's doing in Columbia right now should not be glazed over. It should be glazed. Commanders are sitting 6-4 after beating Alabama and these good teams. And South Carolina is 6-3 within the SEC. Now, obviously, we don't expect South Carolina to be in the playoffs, but right now, I think they are really good. Lenora Sellers and Major, I think his name is Major Sanders. I know his last name is Sanders. That duo right there is nasty. Whoever put that together needs a raise. And I'm not talking about 50 cents or $1. I'm talking about 50,000 because they're about to generate a lot of revenue for the South Carolina Gamecocks. Lenora Sellers went 14 for 20, 238 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Honestly, I wouldn't break it on to say he's better than somebody that I will not name. But Lenora Sellers is legit. And coming from a Clemson fan, I can say that he's legit because I've seen their games. Raheem Sanders went 15 for 126 and 2 touchdowns. I think him and Phil Maffa are very comparatively similar. They'll get a bunch of carries, they'll bruise you, and they'll definitely speed you when they can. Lenora Sellers had 38 scrambling yards, amongst other running backs who had about 30 yards. Raheem Sanders was also their leading receiver with 2 receptions for 52 yards and a touchdown. Boy, every time I was listening, I was watching the football games, all I heard was, South Carolina got another touchdown. What? South Carolina got another touchdown? Hold up. They were dirty. 4 touchdowns is crazy work. But that's what we expect from them. South Carolina looks really, really good. I think this is a long time they've been ranked, but they played good. Let's talk about Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's Diego Pavilla went 16 for 31, so just over 50% completion, 166 yards. He also had 65 scrambling yards with a touchdown. And then Eli Stires went 4 for 41. Cedric Alexander went 1 for 33. And those were the 2 leading receivers within this game. So, props to South Carolina for getting that dub for them. That goes in the win column. They're now sitting at 6-3. And that is a good game for them. Tennessee played Missouri. Tennessee played Mississippi State. Beat them 33-14. I think Nico got hurt within this game, so prayers go up to him. Hopefully he can come back and play within that Georgia game because that is a vital piece for that Tennessee offense. He went 8 for 13, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns. He got hurt, but he balled out pretty much. Their leading rusher was Dylan Sampson with 30 carries for 149 yards and a touchdown. And then Peyton Lewis went 14 for 44 as well. So, all in all, Tennessee did really, really good. Their leading wide receiver was Dante Thornton Jr. with 3 receptions for 104 yards and a touchdown. So they beat the snot out of them. They definitely did. But that's what we expect from Tennessee at this point in time. I think they're sitting 9-1 now, too. The last games that they have to play, Georgia, which is going to be a hard game. We know that. Well, who are they playing? And it's going to be at Georgia, too. That is scary. At Georgia, at 7:30, at night, nasty work. Daylight savings time did nothing for them. But let's hope Tennessee, they're definitely going to be in the playoffs. I don't want to say they lose like 3 games. They're not going to be in the playoffs. But if they lose to Georgia, I think they would be fine. If they lose to Georgia, I think they'd be fine. Moving on, Oregon played Maryland. Oregon's number 1 team in the nation. No surprise there. They beat them 39-18. Another game that was really, really good for college football was Alabama versus LSU. Louisiana State University. Home of the Bayou. Alabama put that thing in drive and hit 100 in 3 seconds. It was crazy work. I have never seen Alabama play this good within this year. Kalen, perhaps to you and Jalen Milroe, man. And the thing about Alabama is Jalen Milroe. He's their key piece. He's their center console. You stop Jalen Milroe, you stop the entire offense because he will run it and he gonna throw it. Both of them equally the same. You stop Jalen Milroe, you stop everything else. I will tell you that right now. I don't know how these teams are not getting that, but when Jalen Milroe goes 12 for 18, 109 yards passing, and then he hits you with 12 carries for 185 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns, you're telling me you let him run almost 200 yards with 4 touchdowns, and you didn't think to go into halftime and say, maybe we should stop the run. You didn't think to do that, eh? I guess you didn't. Jalen Milroe pretty much ran them rampant. Like a disease. Ran them rampant like a disease. That's dirty work. Dirty work. I'm talking about laundry stinks. That's dirty work. Jamarion, they didn't even need no more rushing yards. They didn't need him because he had 4 rushing touchdowns. 4 rushing touchdowns? 4. I've never in my life. I don't think no Alabama quarterback has gotten 4 rushing touchdowns in a game. Tell me, chat. Just go down in the comments. Tell me who else has got 4 rushing touchdowns, 185 yards in a game for Alabama. You won't find one. You won't. Let's see. Ryan Williams had 2 receptions receiving for 29 yards. And now teams are trying to understand that Ryan Williams is a key piece for Alabama. So they're going to try to stop him a lot more. That's what you're supposed to do when somebody's running down your throat. Pause. But let's go over to LSU. When LSU played USC at the beginning of the year, I thought LSU and Garrett Nussmeier was going to be really, really good. But Brad Kelly, 6-3 for the LSU Tigers. I don't think they're going to the... well, they're not getting the SEC championship for sure because they already got 3 losses. And I'm pretty sure that's all the SEC schools. And you're not going to be in the top 12 either. So you might as well kiss your playoff chances goodbye. Let's see who they play for the rest of it. LSU plays Vanderbilt, Florida, Oklahoma. All 3 teams that will not help you signify or state a win within the playoffs. So good luck to LSU. Better luck next year. You got dog walked, millie walked, whatever you want to call it. Moving on, Florida State played Notre Dame, and obviously we expect Notre Dame to beat the brakes off of them, which they did. I mean, they changed the brakes, the rotors, calipers, the tires, the rims. They changed it all because they put a bunch of tread. They burned rubber. They burned rubber like they were somewhere in Forza or Need for Speed or something of that nature. They beat the brakes off them. This has been the biggest downfall within college football history. Going 13-0. Isn't his name Mike Norvell? Mike Norvell. And then going 1-9 the next season is diabolical. And they just gave him a contract too. See, this is why I say you have to immerse yourself within the culture. You have to create a culture first of all. And you have to be the culture. 1-9 is crazy. Who is coming to Florida State? Either 4-star, 5-star, 3-star, 1-star, no star. Who is coming to Florida State to be 1-9? Everybody's trying to compete. That ain't competing. That's competing for losing. Losing. I've never in my life. Brock Glenn went 5 for 18, 51 yards, 2 interceptions. But I'm just saying. Probably Lawrence Toafili went 16 for 77. That's probably that is the best player that they had on offense. And I'm going to just leave it at that. Moving on to Notre Dame and Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard went 14 for 27, 215 yards, and a touchdown. Along with that, Jadarian Price went 7 for 95 and a touchdown. So what happened to that Florida State defense? Obviously, you lost players because of the draft and the transfer portal. This is why you have to build a culture. Because if you don't build a culture, then you ain't getting nowhere. 1-9, you ain't getting no recruits, no coaching. I mean, at this point, you have to rely on your name, image, and likeness. And that's NIL. Pretty much what you have to do at this point. Because getting beat this bad by Notre Dame when you just went 13-0 the previous season, and I know we're not really supposed to be talking about that right now. 13-0 was last season. We're talking about this season. Can you get any worse? Who was their one win against? I want to know who they won against. Who did they? First of all, last year in the Orange Bowl, getting beat 63-3 was terrible enough. But you lose to Georgia Tech. You lose to Boston College. You lose to Memphis. The only win that they have is against California. That's the only team. They lost to SMU. And these are by substantial margins, too. By 30 to SMU. By almost 20 points to Clemson. Duke beat them by 7 points. Miami dog walked them. UNC dog walked them. And Notre Dame just blasted them out of space. Whew. Man, they got a mess on their hands. Now, to wrap up with these 5 games, man. Missouri went third for Miami. Missouri, number 24 team in the nation, played Oklahoma. They went 30. They beat them 30-23. Obviously, we expect that. Oklahoma has been digressing throughout the year. And we expect Missouri to win. Who was their head coach? Can't think of his name. Oklahoma head coach. Why can't I think of his name? He was a defensive coordinator for Clemson. Oklahoma head coach. I think of his name, man. Brent Venables. I'm sorry, Brent. Sorry. Brent Venables has a lot on his plate at this moment in time. I mean, you don't expect to go to Oklahoma and lose that many games, especially because Oklahoma a couple of years ago was always in contention. Now they're not. Now they are not. Boise State won 28-21, defeating the Nevada Wolfpack. Boise State is currently 8-1, slated at number 13 team in the nation, which is crazy. Let's just talk about Boise State here, man. Maddox Madsen went 9 for 20, 119 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Sean, Jesus have mercy. Man, he had to get some holy water put on him. 34 carries, 209 yards, and 3 touchdowns is nasty work. I don't care who you are, what conference you're playing in, or even if you're in country or domestic or international. It don't matter. They really don't have any more games that are eye-opening to me that would be needed to be played. But props to them for going, what are they, 8-1, 9-1? What are they? They're 8-1. So they were almost undefeated, but props to them. They did what they're supposed to do. They're doing what they're supposed to do at this point in time. So, good for them. Now, the last couple of games that I'm going to talk about, Penn State, the number 4 team in the nation, beat Washington 35-6. BYU, the undefeated team for the Big 12, defeated Utah 22-21 by a small margin of victory, which is crazy. I expect BYU to get into the playoffs as well, especially where they're slated at. Who does BYU have for the rest of the season? The BYU Cougars. They play Kansas, Arizona State, and Houston. So honestly, they should win out. They'll definitely, probably get the bye week if I'm not mistaken. And then Utah State versus Washington State. Washington State beat them 49-28. So let me know what you feel that needs to be talked about a little bit more. Whether you like the statistics or whether you like the stories that I create within college football. The college football players are currently gaining upon us. The momentum is speeding up. The top 12 teams will be pushed out every Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, by the committee. So keep on the lookout for that. Hopefully teams win. Hopefully teams lose. I'm a Clemson fan at heart. Hopefully some teams lose in our favor. Prayers up to y'all's favorite teams that try to get into the playoffs, honestly, because we don't know, because especially with college football's happening right now, we don't know anything that will happen or that will not happen. So that's going to wrap it up for week 10 of college football part 2. Go watch part 1 if you haven't already. But it's your boy K-Stang, and I'll catch you in the next video.